All right, I think we're live. Hi, everyone. Yay. Welcome to today's virtual write-in. It's February already, somehow. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but hello. If you don't know me, my name is Catherine. I am the communications director at NaNoWriMo, and I am here with one of our interns who we're very happy to have back for the month.
Hi, my name is Lena Rodriguez. I'm the fall-ish marketing and fundraising intern here at NaNoWriMo, and I'm here for the rest of February. Yes, it's February.
I know, right? It's like, what? I'm just writing in the chat here for a second. Feel free to share with us in the chat where you're watching from or what you're working on right now. Lena, I haven't talked to you in a while. How's your writing going?
It's very sparingly right now, and so I'm very excited for this opportunity to be like, I gotta focus on writing because I'm here with everyone else.
Yay. Yeah, I think actually the last time that I actually sat down and did some writing was at the last virtual write-in. So I am also very excited to be here. If you haven't joined a virtual write-in before, welcome. Happy first time. Basically, what we'll be doing is over the next hour, we'll be going back and forth between having some conversation about writing and working on some timed writing sprints. So we'll give you some optional prompts if you want to use them. We'll set a timer and we'll all write together for a little while. Yeah, right now we're kind of sometimes November ends and everybody's like, okay, now what? So a few years ago, we started doing what we call our Now What program, as in I wrote a novel, or even if you didn't finish your novel, like I wrote a big chunk of a novel in November. Now what do I do with it? So I'll drop in the chat. We have a link to our kind of Now What month's resources and events that are going on. But yeah, it's kind of fun because it's kind of like a choose your own adventure sort of thing from here. If you're finishing a project that you've already started, or maybe you have finished and you want to try editing or revising, or maybe you've done a bunch of that and you're like, okay, I'm ready to share my work with the world. I want to try publishing or something like that. There are lots of different pathways that you can take. So was trying to reflect that today in our prompts that we're coming up with. So yeah. Oh, man.
I'm used to choose your own adventure being like an abominable snowman adventure, or like an apocalypse adventure. And so this feels nice and cooled down and not as stressful as 50,000 words or an abominable snowman.
Yeah, it's a cozy choose your own adventure. I did think for a while, I was like, is there any way that I can shoehorn some writing prompts into a choose your own adventure style prompt? I didn't get very far with it before. I was like, this feels too complicated. I'm not going to do that. So, oh man, I got some people saying where they're watching from: Melbourne, Australia, California, Dallas, Texas, San Diego.
Somebody reminded that there are 8 weeks and 2 days until Camp NaNoWriMo starts.
I love that you know that. That's incredible. I don't even know that. That's great. Thank you for the reminder. Oh man. People are working on their trilogy, dark fantasy novel. Ooh. Oh,
if the person writing Marvel fan fiction would like a beta reader, I would love to read it. I'm a huge Marvel fan. There's everything back there except for the pop figure is entirely Marvel.
We were just talking about that before we started the stream. Perfect. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we'll get into some writing here, since we're here. So yeah, like I said, this was kind of a Yeah, kind of a choose where your novel goes next, sort of a guiding principle as I was coming up with some of these prompts. Um, Even though publishing is kind of usually the last step, if that's the road you want to go down. Sometimes I felt it. I found it to be helpful to think about my novel, even if I'm not ready to like publish or submit it anywhere, but to think about it like I might be. So my first prompt is just a little warm up prompt, or it's going to be 5 minutes, is to write just a few different one sentence pitches of your novel. Um, and I know that some of you are going to write really long run-on sentences. That's a little bit cheating, but that's okay. um, but yeah, basically just kind of like, can you take the story that you're working on and distill it down into whatever the most important aspects are? And of course, stories are really complicated, so it can change depending on what you want to focus on. So if you focus on like, oh, this is the plot of the story, or maybe another sentence would be, this is what this character is going through, or another sentence pitch might be like, this is the theme of my novel. That can really change the way that it sounds, or that you somebody might think about it. So, but basically, how would you describe your story to somebody who just doesn't know anything about it? And try a few different things, try a few different sentences. And you don't have to use the prompt if you don't want. That's totally fine, but it's there for you if you do. So I'm just gonna type that in the chat real quick.
I also like thinking about when most people pitch a novel, they have to think of like two recent semi-popular books, that to like compare it to, and so that people know you know the market and know that your story is semi in the market, and trying to think about all the things that I've read and going, oh, what's so close to it, and that's a really exciting process for me.
That's fun. I'm gonna add that to the prompt. All right. So again, this is just a warm-up prompt. So 5 minutes. I'm going to start a timer and let's start writing now. Got about a minute left. All right, time's up for that prompt. So wrap up whatever you're working on. Feel free to share your favorite pitch or comp titles in the chat.
Kate said the adventures and misadventures of 60-year-old women who live alone, and all I can think of is Golden Girls.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Did you have a favorite one, Lena? No, that's fine. I was trying to think of mine, and I think that my favorite one that I came up with was Holly Black meets Southern rom-com as three teens attempt to rescue their friend from the court of the Fairy Queen, culminating with a battle of the bands type showdown. So
I want to read that.
great. I just have to write, 15 more chapters of it.
I like just threw out comp titles as like my first like list of things, but then I'm like, I don't know how to combine it with any of my prompts. So I have like Legendborn meets Encyclopedia of Fairies, except I mostly threw Encyclopedia of Fairies. And so I'm only like 90% sure that fits.
That sounds great though. I would also read that.
Magic and power are just as mortal as the humans who wield them, but that doesn't tell you anything about the plot.
That's fine. Mushroom and Poppy said, human goth magician saves his troll king husband and his adopted child from an army of humans and gives his life for his family. Ooh, that sounds great. Diva says a young woman learns to adapt to the politics of her world, avoiding death, scandals, and entitled brothers-in-law while managing a forced marriage to the second prince. I love that entitled brothers-in-law are a whole genre of villain.
I'm sure a certain demographic can definitely relate to that. Carrie says two teenagers living in a post-apocalyptic world time traveled through an eclipse to see if the answers to saving their future lie in their past.
Ooh, nice.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. I'm honestly loving all of these pitches because I feel like the great thing about a one sentence pitch is that like you get to say all the like little interesting things that spark your attention, and somebody's like, wait, I want to know more though.
Marvel fan fiction writer, book 1, Tony Stark runs for president. Book 2, Tony Stark's parents are found alive in Wakanda. Book 3, the multiverse is real. There's an exclamation point, and that's important.
Yes.
Hail Two Cities meets Les Miserables in the aftermath of Valjean's, there we go, I can say it, Valjean's kidnapping.
Ooh, nice. Oh man, Marie Cooper, a woman's fear destroys her best friend. Her grief destroys their world. Ooh. Little shivers on that one. This is great. Oh man, I feel like this is always reading what people are writing about is always such a like I don't know, garden of creativity of just like seeing all the pretty flowers, be like, ooh, I want it, I want that one, I want that one.
Uh, for anyone who has been part of this, have you ever shared or published a piece of your writing? Do you have any tips, advice, or questions you have around the process?
It's a good
I saw
question.
both people who plan to publish and people who write fan fiction. I'm going to take it all as you've shared it with the public.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's sharing. Honestly, I think I would feel more scared to share fan fiction. Like that seems more intimidating to me. My best friend from college writes fan fiction, and I read hers, and it's like, it's so good. But it's like, I don't know. Also, characters that people already know and love. I'm like, oh, what if I mess them up?
I went to a writing workshop the other day, and like I wrote something for it, and part of me, because you were supposed to bring in a writing sample, part of me was like, "Oh, I'm excited because I really like my writing," and part of me is like, "Nobody needs to touch my writing. Don't touch, don't look, don't anything. I don't need to write that bad."
Sounds like story files.
Um,
They said, "Lol, no, I'm so scared."
I see a lot of not yet, or yeah, lots of not yets.
Ooh, Ruben says I'm trying ghostwriting. That's interesting. That's cool.
Like
We're
too much of
actually
an
having,
ego for ghostwriting.
I know, right? We're actually having a webcast next week, next Thursday, I believe, so a week from today. If you subscribe to our channel, you can see it on the upcoming live streams. But it's with Jane Friedman, who she's an author and she's kind of a like publishing expert. So she's going to be talking about like the business of being a writer, like kind of what it takes on a business side to like make a living as a writer. So if that's something that anybody's interested in, I would definitely encourage you to come to that next week. I know I'm gonna be like taking notes and be like, okay, what does this actually entail? I've had a
Uh,
couple of short stories published, which has been a lot of fun, just like submitting to like contests or magazines that have open calls. And sometimes it actually helps, like they'll have like a specific topic or prompt and be like, ooh, and that sparks a story. And sometimes I'll have one that I already wrote. I'm like, yeah, I think that would fit. So yeah, that can be fun.
Somebody said that they actually would find writing fanfic easier because you don't have to make people love the characters like you would with original characters because they already know and love
Oh, that's such a good point. Like there's already that shared understanding and buy-in about these characters. That makes a lot of sense.
them. Advice: I always like to have a beta reader look over my story before I start posting it. It helps catch any plot holes or character arc hiccups before I'm in too deep in revisions. My goodness, I should have taken a breath halfway through that sentence. Oops.
Raylan Blackburn says, never published, but won the Young Authors Contest in 8th grade. Congratulations.
Oh, good job.
Yeah. Ooh, that's actually another good reminder. I forgot to do all my announcements at the beginning. So here, you're just getting them peppered in throughout. But we are actually hosting a Young Writers Program contest right now. So if you're 18 or younger, it's like a revision contest. So it's like you can revise, I think it's up to 400 words and submit them. But I'll put the link for that in the chat in case any young writers are here who want to submit to that. Those submissions are open through the end of the month, I believe. So, all right, that's my announcement hat. Oh, cool. CB394 says I've had a couple of poems published through one of my writing groups, and I performed some stuff that I've written when we could actually perform. That's awesome. Performing
Oh,
your writing is that's a whole nother thing, and that's super impressive.
I know a couple of like spoken word poets, and I could never do that. I very much like that. I can hide behind my words, and I don't need to perform them because I I have a stutter. I think I would struggle.
Eh, I think you'd be fine. You could do it, but but I understand it's scary. And I think I didn't realize until college that like spoken word was a whole, it's like a whole, it is, there is a performance aspect, like it's a whole different category than like reading, I don't know, just like reading stuff off a page. I don't know, I tried it once and I was like, oh, this is scary, I don't know if I'm doing that again. Oh man. All right.
I heard somebody categorize the musical Hamilton as spoken word poetry because of the way Lin-Manuel Miranda writes it.
Interesting.
I never heard that, but that makes a little bit of sense to me just because of how it bounces.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that, honestly. There is, it's a blurry line between reading poetry and spoken word and musical rap. I don't know. It's cool. Awesome. All right. Well, shall we move on to our next writing prompt? Right,
Next prompt is pick a scene from your story and write about what a different character is doing at the exact same time. It could be another character in the same room who notices different things or has a different experience of the same situation, or it could be a character in a completely different part of the world who has no idea what's going on in the original scene.
yeah, awesome. And yeah, when I was thinking of this one, because I was thinking if there are people who are still working on a story that they have started, or even if you're like, I finished my story, like they're still, I don't know, there's always like more things to explore. So thinking about those like different pathways and different journeys that you can go down with your writing. Okay, so this one will be for 10 minutes. So I've started the timer. And again, you don't have to use the prompt if you don't want to, if it doesn't work for where you're at, but it's there for you if you want it as a jumping off point. So writing a scene about picking a scene from your story and writing about what a different character is doing at the same time. And let's start writing. Yeah. Just a heads up, we're about halfway through. All right, time is up for that prompt or for that sprint. So go ahead and wrap up what you're writing. If you want to share how many words you got or a sentence that you wrote or what you wrote about in the chat, feel free to put that there. How'd that go for you, Lena?
My Google document, it does not want to copy to tell me how many, or I highlight everything, tell me how much I wrote.
Ah, no.
Okay, I wrote 200 words.
Nice. I've been just like writing in my little notes app on the side, so I actually don't know how many words I wrote. But I was I have while my
388.
huh?
Somebody wrote about 388.
Oh, nice. I was just gonna say while my three main characters are like going into fairyland, there's an adult character who has already been there and come back that they get some advice from. So now I think he's getting caught up in some kind of shady business while they're off on their adventures. So
Ooh. I like that. Like pretty much anything that could have come from this sprint could be like its own chapter and within this, or it could be like an entire novella, depending on how much was like written into like these story or these stories or this prompt.
oh man, that's really good. Let's see, Raylan wrote 172. Walk with Possibility 120. Jason wrote 338. Also, I love people like this prompt, and I love that Cactus Juice said, "Oh no," because this is actually helpful. I know that feeling. It's like, oh no, an idea. Now I have to write it.
Oh no, I'm inspired.
Dang it. Oh wow,
In mine, I kind of had like a concept that was in the Twilight books, when like there are completely blank pages when she kind of goes empty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, and um, and so instead of like having those blank pages, I have like when she kind of goes empty and she's just been betrayed. I have the character who betrayed her's point of view being like, "What just happened?"
Oh, nice. I like that. I always love those little like behind the scenes peeks or conjectures. Mushroom and Poppy says, haven't written in English in 17 years. 129 words in 10 minutes when you haven't written in English in 17 years is it's pretty impressive.
There are some days I can barely write 10 words, and English is my first language. So,
Oh man, I don't know what's going on.
somebody else did.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Somebody else did a point of view of a treacherous best friend. So it's not just me who had this idea. Everybody had the same one.
Carrie wrote, Nefertiti glances down beyond her husband's crown and notices their shadows growing longer. He looks at her with a smile, then seeing her expression, follows her gaze to the rapidly darkening ground. Well, that's some shadow
Uh,
magic, maybe.
Somebody said the scene I wrote made me feel all the more sympathy for the poor character I'm torturing with terrible behavior of my main character.
I like that. Rounding out some characters, getting their shoes a little bit. CV says, I have a best friends to enemies plot twist brewing in this story. Nice. Oh, Carrie, that was the eclipse one. Awesome. Great. Jason says, that was when the floorboards beneath her gave. Jessica let out a scream as she fell through the floor. Her hands reached out in a panic and she was able to grasp the shelf in front of her.
Well, there are a lot of ideas here. Some people are like, this amazing addition to my story. So now I've got to ask, when do you know that a story is finished? Especially for like plotters versus pantsers. How does that show up for you when you begin to revise? How do you know when it's done?
Ooh, that's a good question. I am also curious to know how many people here are like plotters versus pantsers. I feel like
Um,
I'm mostly a pantser, but I do like a very like small, quick, like bullet point outline of my story. So that is the extent of my plotting usually.
I once made a NaNoWriMo TikTok that is like the process of NaNoWriMo if you're a planster is make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, and then throw away the plan. Anyways, that's what I do.
That's great. All right, we're gonna write that into our rule book, I think. Diva says, no idea. I've never finished one. Great. Now's the time to find out, maybe. Anne Marie says,
I
when my
think it's
characters tell
also
me, oh, go ahead.
oh no, you can go.
I was just reading Anne Marie's comment that says, when my characters tell me I'm done, I'm a plantser.
Can relate. I think it's really interesting because like writing is like it's an art and it's very subjective. But that means like a lot of people like can never be done with their story. Like I know there are some people who spend their entire life working on the exact same story
Mhm.
because as they're like it needs to be perfect. Um,
Right.
or that's why some people can't do NaNoWriMo is because they're editing as they go through it. Um, and again, so like trying to figure out when can I publish this thing I've been working so hard on is probably the hardest thing, and not just the writing and editing.
Yeah. I will say I am a reformed editor as I go. I used to when I started writing, especially when I was like a teenager, early 20s, like I used to be one of those people that I was like, I need to like this paragraph has to be perfect. I can't move on until it's exactly right. Um, and it wasn't until I started doing NaNoWriMo that I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to write this much if I do that. And I have actually now finished two first drafts that I started during NaNoWriMo. They still need a lot of editing, so we're gonna leave that down the road. One of them I edited the first like quarter like really well, and then I kind of got to a point where I was stuck and I was like, I don't know about the rest of this.
I see a lot of planners in the chat.
Nice. Ink Featherquill says, I tend to start by pantsing, get about halfway through the story, and then reach a point where I can't go on without plotting out the rest. Nice. Cactus Juice says, I know a story is finished when all major plot points are finally reached and resolved. That's good.
Uh,
I feel like there are some books that intentionally leave some of the plot points unresolved. They're like, psych, you have to buy the sequel.
First of all, I love the username Ink McFeatherquill. They're planster and they tend to start by I have my chat moved. They tend to start by pantsing, get about halfway through the story, and then reach a point where they can't go on without plotting out the rest.
Mm-hmm. And like Kent says, I turned into a pantser from a planner. That's interesting. I feel like I've heard of a lot of people going like from the other way, like I started pantsing, but then I started planning. So I love that you went, nope, gonna throw the planning out the window. Great. Oh, I like this from Grace. It says planner here, and I usually stop once I've touched on everything that interested me about that particular story in the first place.
Oh, that's a good one. I
That
might
is good.
screenshot that.
Because yeah, sometimes I feel like I write a story and I'm like, well, it has to go here, and like I don't really want to write this scene, but like this is where the story needs to go. But, oh man. All right. Well, speaking of planning and pantsing and also revision and editing, because this is our now up months. My final prompt that I came up with was to explore some of that revision and editing a little bit. So again, you don't have to use the prompt if you don't want to, or if you want to keep rolling through with the scene that you were writing in the last prompt, feel free to do that. But if you wanna kind of just dip your toes into a little editing revision today, I thought we could take the scene that you just wrote and kind of just practice editing it and see what that process feels like to you. Um, and kind of like just thinking about what are the main themes or details that you want to make sure to include in this scene. Maybe if you're somewhere where nobody else can hear you, you can read it out loud. Are there any places where you stumble over the words, or any words or punctuation that you find yourself using over and over again? For me, I know I use the long dashes, the M dashes. Like I overuse those way too much. And whenever I edit, I need to go back and cut like half of them, because I'm just like, what is this? This is too much. I'm not Emily Dickinson. Stop it. um,
I once saw a meme that said, writers go, no, that's my emotional support M dash.
it's so true. Yep, that's me. Guilty. All right, so I'm going to put this prompt in the chat here. and, and let's see. Let's make this one 10 minutes again. So I'll set a timer here and we'll come back together for a little bit at the end. So 10 minutes, if you want, try taking a crack at revising the scene that you just wrote, and let's start writing now. Got about 2 minutes left. All right, time is up. Go ahead and wrap up what you're writing, what you're working on. Feel free to let us know how that went for you in the chat, if you were trying to revise or if you were working on something else.
I also saw a brief conversation about my name. So just for the record, my full first name is Adelena, Adelena. So Lena is a nickname, but it's not short for Elena. However, apparently Elena translates to Helen, and Helen is my middle name.
Oh, interesting.
And so that was an interesting thing to be brought up in the chat, but I figured I'd address it because it was funny.
I also love that Christina says, I can't believe that people still use Tumblr. I have to admit that I am one of the people who still uses Tumblr. Actually, I think it's probably my preferred social media platform. I probably spend more time on Tumblr than I do anywhere else on the internet. So there you go. Fun facts. Oh,
I can say with confidence that this entire sprint I've been writing words. However, those words were a message to my supervisor because I forgot to mention to her that I was in the virtual write-in today.
Oh.
And so she was like, hey, can you wrap me up on your day? And I'm like, I forgot to tell you where I was at.
That counts. Writing emails, that totally counts. We have a couple minutes left, so I just want to say thank you everybody so much for joining today, and feel like we're trying some experiments with our writing prompts today, which I had a lot of fun with. I hope you did too. I think Carrie said the editing was good. It was helpful to look it over and add a few details, refining it as I went. So good. I'm so glad. Miss Kate, I'm still figuring it out. Me too. That's totally fine.
I added 2 more paragraphs and more details. Wow, good job.
Nice. Awesome.
Okay, with the 2 more minutes left, I'm going to throw out some of the announcements.
Yes, please.
So next week we've got a webcast on Thursday. I think that was already mentioned, but I will mention it again, with Jane Friedman, who will be talking about what it takes to run the business side of being a writer, because we're all creative, so we're going to need help. And then also Project for Awesome video submissions are open. So if you want to help support NaNoWriMo, it's film a short, like 2-minute video, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could just be you talking into your phone camera if you want. and share a little about why you love NaNoWriMo, upload it as a public video to your channel, and then submit it to the link that will be put in the chat in just a moment.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
put the
it's
link in
already
the
there.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys, because you guys are here on YouTube, some of you I see like every virtual write-in, so I know you're here a lot. But if you want to help support NaNoWriMo, this is a great way to do it. And even if you can't donate, like and just making a super short, straightforward video, it really helps us out, because basically people vote on the videos, and the organizations with the most votes get a lot of money from Project for Awesome. So the more videos we have, the more likely we are to get the votes that we need. So if you have a few minutes to make and upload a video, those submissions are open through February 15th, and it would help us out a ton if you want to do that. And I always watch all the videos, and I always love seeing them too. So if you want to do that, we would love for you to. Yeah, and then I think those are some of the important stuff. Yeah, and then go ahead. Yeah, just reminding people that if you want to look at all of our, like, I wrote a novel, now what resources, those are on the website. And if you can create, even though NaNoWriMo is over, you can create your own project or goals on the NaNoWriMo website at any time to help you track your progress there. And if you're under 18, the Young Writers Program contest is open until the end of the month as well. So yes, did a great job on announcements today. Virtual high five. Awesome. Oh, cool. Thank you, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
On a personal level, I didn't get to say goodbye last time I was here because I didn't think it would be my last virtual write-in before in 2022. So now this is my last virtual write-in.
Well, we've loved having you here. Thank you so much for joining today. Also may not be your last. We might bring you back at some point. Who knows?
My last one for the right now.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Feel free to take a look at our calendar too. We've got some other cool events coming up, and we will see you next time. So good luck. Happy writing.